All right, thanks, guys. The Magic take on the Knicks. That's going to be a 7:30 Eastern tip-off at Madison Square Garden. The Magic open the betting as the 6.5-point favorite. Total open at 214 and a hook. And since those markets open this one up, not a whole lot of movement when it comes to the spread. Although we did see movement upward on the total. That moved a whole point up to 215 and a half. So once again, Orlando opened and remains minus 6.5. Total open 214 and a half up to 215 and a hook. 62% of the consensus is leaning toward Orlando. 64% of the consensus is shaded toward the over. And at the moment, the Knicks are plus 240 for some money line cash. Now, if you like the Knicks to get the job done at home in this matchup here, just keep in mind DeAndre Jordan is listed as doubtful with an ankle injury. The Knicks are also 0-2 against the spread, taking on Orlando this season. New York's just 10-19 against the spread at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks rank dead last in the association in field goal percentage. They're shooting just 43% from the field. They also rank 29th in defensive rebounding. Now, on the Orlando side, completely different story there. They rank first at road points allowed at 105. They're led by Nikolai Vucevic, who is leading the team in both scoring and rebounding. We're also looking at Aaron Gordon, who's leading the team in scoring. He's second on the squad in points per game on average. Orlando's also covering 75% of their games as the official road favorite. Now, when it comes to the scoring, Orlando's just 38% to the over following a day off, 12-17 to the over in their games when traveling. Meanwhile, the Knicks on their side of things, just 11-18 to the over on their home court. They're covering, they're not covering. They're 37% to the over on their home court. Anyway, I'm going to purchase the half a point, slide it down. I'm going to lean toward the road favorite in this one. Give me Orlando minus 6 in the under 215 and a half in that matchup there. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick timeout and just welcome you to the show. Got some lines of personal leans out for Tuesday's NBA, college basketball, and NHL action. But before we go ahead and move any further, I just want to take a quick timeout and remind you to check me out at my website on patreon.com/BrockPage. We had a pretty good night last night, 2-0 in our two premium personal plays. Certainly nice to have a little streak there in the win column. So once again, 2-0, my last two plays on that website. There's also plenty of free content there as well. So once again, please feel free to just hit that pause button right now, open up your browser. All you got to do is type in patreon.com/BrockPage. It only takes you a couple of seconds. The link is in the description section below. And if you are a current patron of mine and you're currently watching me right now, I simply cannot thank you enough. You most certainly make it all worth it. And with all that said and done, let's go ahead and hop right back into some more lines of personal leans. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Celtics at the Raptors, 8 o'clock tip-off in Toronto. The Raptors open minus 5, total open 226 and a half. And since that one opened up, we're seeing a slight fade of Toronto when it comes to the number. We're also seeing movement downward on the total as well. That line moved down to 226. Spread moved down to 4.5. So once again, the Raptors opened minus 5, down to minus 4.5. Total open 226 and a half, down to 226 even. 58% are leaning Toronto, 52% shaded toward the over. And at the moment, the Celtics are plus 150 for some money line cash. Now, the Celtics have covered 2 out of their last 3 taking on Toronto. The Celtics are also covering 60% of their games, taking on teams over 550. They're led by Kyrie Irving, who's leading the team in scoring on average. They're also led by Jason Tatum, who's second in scoring points per game on average as well. Boston's led by Al Horford, who's bringing down just about 7 rebounds per contest as well. Boston ranks second in defensive field goal percentage. Their opponents are shooting just 44% from the field when taking on Boston. The Celtics also rank third in free throw percentages. They're shooting 81.3% from the stripe. Now, Toronto on their side of things, completely different story when it comes to the trends. They rank 19th in home three-point shooting, very bad from downtown. They also rank 22nd in home defensive rebounding, really inactive under the boards on the defensive end of things. Now, Toronto's 0-5 against the number in their last 5 games, have not covered a point spread in their last 5 contests. They've also covered just 27% of their games that tipped off at the current point spread. Now, total-wise, Toronto's just 3-6 to the over in their last 9. Boston 0-3 to the over in their trio of ball games that tipped off at the current total. So with all that in mind, I'm going to purchase the half a point, buy it up, and take Boston +5 in the under 226 in that matchup there. All right, next and final game for our NBA slate. It is going to be OKC at Denver, 10:30 tip-off in the Mile High City. Denver opened 3.5, total open 237.5. Not a whole lot of movement in this one. We're seeing that number remain at 3.5. Although we did see a little bit of movement downward on the total. That moved down to 237. So once again, Denver open and remains -3.5. Total open 237 and a hook, down to 237 even. And at the moment, OKC is +$1.25 for some money line cash. Now, if you like Denver to get the job done at home, they've been very, very good against the number on their home court. That said, they're just 3-4 against the spread in their last 7 ball games. They're also taking on an OKC team who's 7-4 against the spread in their last 11 themselves. OKC is covering 69% of their games when catching the points. They're also covering 70% of their games as the official road underdog, and they're 71% against the spread, taking on teams over 550. So whenever they take on good teams, they've certainly done a great job at covering the number there. Now, they're led by Paul George and Russell Westbrook, who is leading the team. Both of those guys leading the team in scoring and average points per game. They're also led by Steven Adams, who is doing well on the rebounding end. Although Russell Westbrook is leading the team in rebounds, he's averaging double-digit rebounds for the year so far. Now, total-wise, OKC's just 12-18 to the over on the road. Denver 2-0 to the under, taking on OKC. Give me the Thunder +4 after buying the half a point in the under 237 in that matchup there. All right, let's go ahead and slide into some college basketball, and we are going to begin with Duke at Virginia Tech. Duke at Virginia Tech. That's going to be a 7 o'clock tip-off for tonight's action. Duke opened the betting as the 5-point favorite. Total open 146.5. Now we are seeing a slight fade of Duke when it comes to the number. No real surprises there, as people still have that Zion Williamson Nike shoe blowout and torn knees still fresh in their minds. So we are seeing a slight fade of Duke when it comes to the number. Obviously, Duke on the road as well. So I'm surprised we haven't seen more of a fade. But anyway, we've seen a half a point fade of Duke. We're also seeing movement downward on the total as well. That number moved down to 145.5. Spread moved down to 4.5. So once again, the Blue Devils open -5 down to -4.5. Total open 146.5 down to 145 and a hook. 68% of the consensus is leaning toward Duke, and 54% of the consensus is shaded toward the under. Now, this Virginia Tech defense is allowing just 58 points per contest on their home court. That is amongst the elite in college basketball. They also rank 6th in the country in home defensive rebounding. They're led by Nickel Alexander-Walker, who's dropping a ton of points, leading the team in points scored on average per game. They're also led by Kerry Blackshear in that same category as well. Now, Duke, on the other side, they failed to cover in 3 out of their last 4. They also rank 171st in defensive rebounding. Very surprising from a Coach K team. But once again, Duke ranking 171st in the nation in defensive rebounding. Now, total-wise, Duke is 3-1 to the under in their last 4. Virginia Tech, 72% to the under when the line was over 145. So with all that in mind, I'm going to purchase the half a point, buy it up, and take Virginia Tech +5 in the under 145.5 in that matchup there. Next game, Arkansas at Kentucky. That's going to be a 9 o'clock tip-off.